Welcome back, everybody, to the March 18th installment of the weekly series, The State of the Canyon, where I think even after the amount of time I spent lamenting my life choices while working with the boom racing hustlers, the tire that I am perhaps the most disappointed with of any tire I've used previously, and the real warning should have been the foams, which, even after having been pressed down inside the tire, these flattened out a little more, but the rest of them still appear to have been cut by someone in the dark with an old bagel slicer. Not to mention the fact that one of the foams is not a memory foam. That's just a regular foam. So that aside, prior to turning this particular filming sequence on, I spent a similar amount of time working mostly on tires. There's a setup there. We've got all these here. I unmounted pretty much all of these here. And then just to fill the time in between before we find a proper tire to put on the Gate Rover, as I couldn't bring myself to put the growlers back on, as I think the tire's probably okay, foam's not so good. I grabbed the set of essentially unused Nitto trail grapplers, which were the OE tire on the Colonel, and I think they got run like 3 or 4 times. I cleaned them up and mounted them, and you know what? They're not bad. They're like maybe a little bit less grip than the Cut Canyon trails, but I think they did absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Included foams and everything. Didn't do anything to them. Threw them on. Oh, and by the way, if you survived the Boom Racing Hustler review, if there were any questions as to whether or not it was this rim that was making the mounting difficult, it was not. I mounted all 4 of those tires in the length of one song playing on the radio. So under 5 minutes to mount all 4 of those. It probably took longer to take the Boom Racing tires off than it did to put those on. As I'm a huge fan, apparently, of the green and white, I got some super deep dish white steelies. Unmounted the hunks from these, which I just don't like them. Mounted these up, and because they're their offset is basically the inside. The hex is almost even with the back of the wheel. Like, it's maximum positive offset. So, having that mounted, the Jolly Green here used to have the extended stubs. But then with these, there was literally, like, that much thread sticking out. So I swapped these out, as the Tranquish could really use a set of extended stubs. I have not installed those yet, as I picked out the second heaviest foams that I have, and put them in the hunks. And then I took it out and tried it, and you know what? It's definitely counterintuitive. It's now part of my new tire philosophy, which apparently I just came up with this morning, as none of my rigs are lightweight. Everything I've got is kind of a beefy boy. The kind of king of the beefy boys is Jolly Green here, who is probably right around 10 pounds and was close to 12 when he had a Defender shell. So this is the second stiffest foam I have. And you would think, well, it's not going to climb well now. But this is the part where the Boom Racing couldn't manage these ascents under any condition. And apparently, so what my philosophy is now, after the experience with this, is the softer the compound, the harder the foam. Because what I was running was essentially, I mean, the hunks are pretty soft. And they have a very flexible sidewall. As you can see, when this thing gets perpendicular to the camera, he is really throwing his weight around. When he gets perpendicular to the camera, you can see the rear tires bag up like something on a drag racer. But the knobs are soft enough that they're still allowed to do their work, while the sidewall now basically doesn't roll over. So I can make dumb moves like this and probably not roll it. Yeah, and not roll it. So when not having to deal with the problems brought about by substandard tires, this is a heavy truck and it can use a nice heavy foam. And I never would have thought, so something good did come out of the boom racing debacle, which is I never would have thought to put a foam this heavy in these tires. Because I would have thought that like right here, there's no chance it's gonna pull over. But it does. And apparently, there's definitely no issue with the tire. The tire wheel combo. Because if there were, I would think that the tire would have ejected itself out of the wheel by now, as look at the wrinkle in that sidewall from the torque. But it doesn't. They work great. And I really like the look of the super deeps on here with the green truck. I really want to weld this guy a bumper now. And even when you do dumb stuff, this lands right on its wheels because the weight is nice and low. And whatever line, you gotta use a little, you gotta be a little creative with it. It's not just an aim and go for most of it, but like that's very loose under that back tire and still pulls it right around. Which is why if I were handing out during this, and I'm not, if I were handing out a letter grade to the J Concepts hunk, it's definitely not a D. I figure what I'll have to do is just keep rotating those rear tires side to side until the bead locks really lock down on them. Like this is slick rock, and I'll get a little nose push right here, and then once that tire gets bite on the outside edge, right up top. I love the absolute monster trucky look. I mean, if we were going to scale based on, because I feel like, I still feel like most crawlers are closer to 8th scale than they are to 10th, but I feel like that body is a 10th scale body with 8th scale wheels on it, because those things would be like, those would be like 50s if it was on a regular truck. They are enormous. They're taller than the door. And I really like the look of it. They really do have a very soft sidewall. And I haven't found anything yet that the stiff foamed hunks aren't good at. Side hilling, of course, is quite good because it stops that really soft sidewall from rolling. Look at that. There's no fold over there. Now the hunk does not have a lot in the way of side lug, so there is some push. And those rear tires, they bag up so much. So it is a slippy tire, but I think this is going to be the tire that Jolly Green stays with for some time, because the performance is very balanced. It can do the tough ascents like this. It handles slick rock no problem. Get a little wheel hop here, but it's just a matter of getting the tires to point in exactly the spot you want them to point. So proper movements are rewarded and mistakes are punished, and that's how it ought to be. And I think we'll try real low here. These are excellent tires. There's that line to the left, which I was trying before. While we're out here, let's cover a little of what's been going on with the course. You'll notice here I have a couple poles in place, as I don't even think we're to spring yet. Is that this weekend? I think Sunday? Is Sunday the first day of spring? I think Sunday is the first day of spring. So we've got 2 poles put up out here. And if you catch a glimpse of the fence post there in the distance, it has a sleeve in it to add yet another post. Because I have one strand of those Costco outdoor LEDs. And back to the notion of spring not yet having arrived. It's sort of important because spring isn't particularly a thing here. This is inland Southern California. We're gonna go directly into summer, and summer here can get, let's call it rough. So I'm thinking that even if it's just me out here hooning about at whatever speed, putting up another strand or 2 of lights probably wouldn't hurt, as I don't think I'm going to be doing a lot of driving of these when it's 110 degrees out. While I'm aware that pretty much all of the J-Concepts tires are, non-class 1s, the class 2 tires as they're calling them now, are roughly the same height. It definitely feels like the hunks are taller than the Scorpios that came off to make room for the hunks. So I think it might be inevitable that I've painted myself into a corner in which I'm gonna have to get a new body. I'll have to pick up another one of these K10s for Jolly Green. And I honestly think I wanna mount it higher, like less cutting, just mount it higher up, because I really kind of like the local bro monster truck look of it. I really like the look of the body. I like the color. I like it with the wheels. I like everything about it. But I think I want to weld up a tube style bumper and get a little more clearance. I get a bit of lug rub, not altogether surprisingly. Come on, you. But I'm really surprised at how well the hunks do with mixed surfaces. This thing just motors along. It's fantastic to drive. And as I at least think I mentioned, it was 5 to 6 minutes to mount each one of these, despite the fact that there is an absolutely enormous foam crammed in there. They stood taller than the tire, so they're pretty well stuffed in there. That amount of sidewall wrinkle, it doesn't seem to impact performance. So what we do, well, by we, I mean me, I just flip it around and mount it on the other side, in the hopes, at least, that when it gets bound up, it will wrinkle back the other way. And I do recall, I know that I mentioned that I put this rig on the second stiffest set of foams that I have. And one might say, well, why not the stiffest ones? The answer to that is short. These are the stiffest ones. These were the RC four-wheel drive foams that came with the Patagonias that are on the Banana. And how stiff are they, you might ask? Just gotta find the middle. That rig weighs 10 pounds. So they are slightly softer than these Amazon yoga blocks that I use as vehicle stands. That's why I don't think they have a home in a tire. I don't know how heavy a rig would have to be for those to work. For point of comparison, here are the Pitbull dual stage that come inside a set of Growler ATs. Which, I mean, is what you would expect. The truck is basically just like it just smushed them down to nothing. As I was just now cleaning up Jolly Green to put him away, I noticed that the front bumper was a little loose. Checked all the fasteners, everything looked okay. So we can chalk this one up. The first, non-drivetrain. I've broken a lot of servo horns, and if you count Red Cat, I've snapped a handful of drive shafts. If you count Red Cat, I've blown out a bunch of transmission and transfer case gears. If you don't count Red Cat, the amount of stuff I've broken is almost exclusively limited to servo horns. So this, I mean, it's got a lot of flex on it now, but this part was, this is a rear bumper mount that I use upside down in the front to raise the bumper up. So maybe not its fault. I have a couple more. So that will go back together and everything will be fine. Yella had some planned work, which just kept, for whatever reason, getting pushed further back down the work list, which started off with, this is just the regular lay shaft and top gear for a Traxxas 2.72 Magnum gearbox that's been around since the 80s. This is an STRC lay shaft, which allows you to run associated slippers on that gearbox. It's what I have fitted to pretty much every rig I've got that has a Magnum gearbox on it. This is what happens to most STRC lay shafts, which is the little top pin, that little fella, invariably snaps because it is 1.3 millimeters. So I have a box full of these. I have like 4 with broken shafts, and as you can tell by the color, it is hardened. So I had been, up until very recently, unable to drill those out, until you'll see one here with a 2 millimeter pin in it, as I bought a Ultra Tool 2 millimeter carbide, which drilled this one out to 2 millimeters like butter, and then that's a 2 millimeter cross pin for it. And this is the top gear out of a 10-2 gearbox. So Yella will be getting an STLC lay shaft so that I can run a full associated slipper setup with probably this 84 on a Amazon Dig gearbox. So that dig gearbox will be a whole amalgam of parts, as that will also give me the option to run 48 pitch or 32 pitch spurs on Yellow, which I think will be handy. And then I have the other one undrilled as of yet, and will then have the opportunity to put that in the Tranquish, as it also has an Amazon Dig gearbox. I did just a tiny bit more coursework, which I don't think I showed on camera. So the Gate Rover has volunteered to come on out with me and show off a little bit more of what's been going on with the course. And that'll probably do it for this week. As of late, coursework has slowed down primarily due to what is a materials issue. A lot of containers have been going out from next door, but not a lot of containers have been coming in. So I actually haven't gotten any material in since I got the big blocks. And the big blocks have let's call it a limited utility. It still amazes me how much these outgrip the Hustlers. Let's see if I drag belly here. How about no, not at all. I have to bump them a good bit. Here's some real side stuff here. Ooh. See, again, that firm foam really doing well. So whenever that next load of material finally arrives, it's all been earmarked already. I have so many spots that can use more material, and just don't have the material to fill those spots. This is a bad angle, Rover. We're not. That's. I mean, if you want to try it, sure. Okay, all right. Still quite. I mean, there's quite a lot of flex there, even with the loss of trailing arms. I don't think any performance was lost at all. The only thing the trailing arms make me want is to pick up an IFS setup and build a tiny little trophy truck, which I think would be cool. The hardest part would be picking a body for a tiny little trophy truck, because I don't think the dimensions of a short course really fit an actual trophy truck. I don't know. Maybe somebody's seen something like that. I can't be the first guy to think to build basically a 10th scale trophy truck. Maybe I'll have a use for that axe system, which is way too much for Jolly Green. That's the thing about building these, though, is as soon as you think you're done with one build, speaking for myself, I'm already thinking about the next build. So it's never ending. Ooh, these ropes are getting a little long. Can he clear it? Oh, yeah. The Gate Rover with proper tires would be formidable. These are not terrible, but I mean, they're better than Hustlers, but I mean, they're not amazing. For better or worse, I still haven't taken the gates down. I can't bring myself to do it. I feel like I need to run it again, because it was such a debacle last time. But I don't know if I feel like subjecting the Rover to it when he's on these tires. Though the more I wheel around on these tires, I don't want to say they're growing on me, but I mean, they're not terrible. They're easily on par with a canyon trail. It's probably going to be deep woods. I haven't tried them yet. I've had good luck with dirt tracks in the past. I don't know if these tires are good enough, but they are certainly good enough for now. What I've assembled here is a cruel side hill portion that it's probably just best for most rigs to take the I think somebody's gonna have a fall here. But as is his magical ability, which I think is the magical ability of the Defender shell, to just land on its wheels. So we'll take it a little further. There we go. If you stay more up on the top, it's a little bit safer. So this is one of the most recently assembled. And again, a lack of material has led to its current state of incompletion. I really want to build out this end, this little staircase looking end here, and add more natural stone, which is what I don't really get a lot of, sadly. Most places don't bother to pay to get rid of stone, because the descent is pretty cool, and trying to get up this is it's pretty rough. There's a if you can get your front bumper up over this, you can kind of try right here, but it tends to push his hiney around and then get it perpendicular to the line that he needs to go on. Yella has taken a couple shots at this. Daphne's taken a couple shots at this. Oh, you gotta get the nose end pushed more to the left. And there's a notch there that the right rear wants to drop in. There's some steering angle. Now the bumper's hooked. If he can, I gotta catch the hop in the right spot. Oh, now he's off. Yeah, this one is tricky because it's like a double underhang. But these are the ones that I like. I like an obstacle that when I build it, I can't just immediately figure it out. I haven't really sussed out how to directly approach this one. Yeah, see, just his butt falls into the underhang. I find myself gravitating back to this section because there's that novelty, and also the diamond cut concrete. There's no grip on that at all. Like that stuff, that's like glass. That's 45-degree glass. So you got to kind of, I mean, it will just eject anybody that tries to get on it. Just that rear tire is on it and there's nothing. I don't know. I know they sell like traction spray. Might have to grab a couple cans of traction spray to try to get over that. That's a tough spot you're in there, buddy. And if you back up, you get back onto the glass. Let's see. I think my impromptu sliders are getting hooked up here. This is also what happens when you try to drive an obstacle before it has had time to cure in, which is I'm just, like, I've already pulled a 5-gallon bucket full of rocks out of here. Oh, I had it and then I didn't. So we're just having a good time out here. I hope to, I just set those poles a couple days ago. I want to give them a little more time before I put any kind of weight on them. So hopefully I can have the lights strung before the next update. I have one strand in place now, but you quickly realize that 40 feet of lights doesn't go very far when you're covering this kind of area. So it starts here at this post, goes over to the driver's stand, across, and then over to the fence again. So I'm going to tie into that one and kind of ricochet its way back, and that'll be that. I hope to have that done sooner rather than later. Oh, and the quote-unquote new wheelbarrow over there reminds me, the last thing I want to point out in this week's update is the old wheelbarrow, which I'd like here to point out here at the close of this, that with great pride, there was a big hole right there, a really big hole right there, and about a dime-sized hole right there where these had rusted all the way through. And despite not knowing what I'm doing, and my welds generally looking like garbage, this metal is paper thin at this point, and I did successfully manage to weld 3 holes on a 25-year-old wheelbarrow back together. I mean, now that a wheelbarrow nowadays is like 140 bucks, and
I can get a good brushless system for 140 bucks. So I did a thing, pretty much, mostly, and I thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope your weather is as nice as what we're having here, so that you can do as the Gate Rover does, get out and do some crawling. This is what it's supposed to look like here for the next couple days. I'll be off the rocks for a couple days, sadly. I have a short weekend journey to make, and then we will be, as we always are, right back at this. Hopefully getting whatever in-betweener tasks are finished up. Still planning out the next build, and just doing more of the same. So have a good one, everybody. Thanks for watching.